Hey everyone, welcome back to week 17. Now we're going to jump straight into this week's video by starting on this side. This is of course the bottom half, or the dungeons, of the Great Hall. Last week we focused on the interior and a bit over there on this bit. And the week prior to that, of course, we're working on the Chamber of Secrets. Now we've got this to deal with. And the reason why I'm going to start with this is because I've taken off the two towers right there. They're right here. And I'm going to be working on the dungeons this week because I feel they're long overdue, and I really need to get those done before I can actually start working on anything up above. Now, in terms of what I've actually decided to do down here, I'm going to allocate about this much space just to have some room in front of the Chamber of Secrets doorway. We're going to put some bones, la-di-la, we'll put Gilderoy Lockhart, and that sort of stuff. I would have really liked if I could have found a way to have a slide or whatever, the pipe from this entrance to the Chamber of Secrets go up into the castle. But the location that ends up coming up is about right here. And the only thing that exists here is the central staircase tower. So there's no room to actually put a bathroom, unfortunately. Unless I'm able to adapt this somehow when it sits right there. Unless I decide that shouldn't be a hallway and it becomes a bathroom, although that is supposed to just be the hallway between this and the Great Hall. So that's not exactly what I want to do. In any case, what I'm trying to say is that it's not ideal for trying to find a place to actually connect up, but it would have been really nice to have Moaning Myrtle's bathroom go straight to the Chamber of Secrets. And then so the idea for the rest of this area down here is to actually allocate it as the Slytherin common room. And the reason being is because if I go back over here to the mock, this is the area that we had originally decided was going to be the Chamber of Secrets. And this was going to be a little bit of a hallway space, and then the potions classroom. Now the potions classroom is staying over here. Hallway might get slightly adapted. This I'm actually going to transform into the Hufflepuff common room this time. Because if you remember from a few weeks ago, I touched on how in Hogwarts Legacy, there's essentially a circular dome-shaped building, which is right here. And this bit is essentially a garden on the top. And below that dome is actually just the Hufflepuff common room, and the dome is essentially the skylight, if you will. It is the domed roof of the Hufflepuff common room. So I thought it would be very fitting if I actually just make the Hufflepuff common room directly below where it's actually supposed to be in the mock. What that meant, of course, is that there's no space for the Slytherin common room, so that gets moved to this area of the Great Hall. Now, in previous renditions of the Great Hall that I've made, this has always been the Hogwarts kitchens, but frankly, as far as interesting scenes go, the kitchens are not the most interesting. So we're going to do something a little bit more exciting. So we'll get started with that, and then once we've completed it, we'll figure out how we're going to link this all up and see if anything needs tweaked, and then we're going to get started on working on the dungeon areas over here. Alright, so we started to do a bit of work down here in the dungeon, specifically on the Slytherin common room, and I guess the first thing that you'll notice is this kind of cool bay window down here at the end. Now, what am I taking inspiration from? Here is the book that I'm referencing, and I have taken a look at it previously. This is the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy, if you've not been here before. This page I'm currently on is looking at the 4 house common rooms, specifically the Slytherin common room. Now, there are a few pages with different views, such as this. That's Gryffindor, but in any case, you can see there's quite a few different angles and concept arts that I'm referencing, but you can see very clear that there's these big windows. Now, actually, these are supposed to be, because it's in the dungeons, view straight into the Black Lake. So what you would be seeing out of this window is underwater, essentially, which I find cool in its own right. So I basically centered that as the end of the common room. What most people typically do is put the fireplace, but I've gotten a little bit bored of just having a fireplace at the end and trying just to position a bunch of sofas, and boom, there's your common room. I'm trying to give it a little bit of life and some uniqueness, if you will. So I've gone ahead and put the fireplace over on the left. Now, this is from a set, I believe it's the 2018 Great Hall, but you can correct me on that. And I've been trying to steal parts from what was the Slytherin banner set, just because it comes with quite a few nice greebling pieces and whatnot. So we're slowly building this space up. We're going to try to make a little bit of a carpeted area right here, with, of course, some couches. And then we're going to dress up the rest with a few tables, maybe some armchairs. And we're going to figure out, just by looking at these sort of things, how we can perhaps incorporate a little bit of the Slytherin vibe into this space down here. And of course that will come with finding a bunch of more decorated tiles and pieces that bring it to life a little bit more. All right, so just a quick update while the sun is shining so bright. This bit in front, I'll cover that first, is very temporary at the moment. This is just a structure to hold up the upper portion of the Great Hall. But until I can put the Great Hall back up with the rest of the mock and figure out how to integrate the rockwork and all that, I'm just going to leave it there because it is very temporary at the moment. But it's looking all right. This is just a view of this front area in front of the Chamber of Secrets door, and I just broke it off, but has room to open, and we're just going to put some bones and frankly just a little bit of rock work on the ground, and that's going to be that. Did a little bit of work on the back wall just to cover up the filler. Same thing with the inside here, and I'll try to tilt this so you can see it maybe a little bit better. On the inside right here, the middle of it is quite blank at the moment. I found this one sofa which I quite like the look of, and I'm going to see if I can either build another one if I have the right pieces, or source a second one. I'm not sure where it came from. Been building up this side wall, the back wall with the rock work, and I will remove this so we can get a little bit better view on the inside. I've just been trying to fill it up with some few things here and there to make it feel a little bit more Slytherin-y. Honestly, it is quite plain when I look at it like this, but the idea that, well, I just broke this off, so that's not going to help, but the idea that you're only really seeing it from this angle, and it's about the characters that you put into it, and really, it's just a cool vignette, if you will. So I'm not worried too much about it being crammed with a bunch of detail. But we are going to finish it up. We're going to add a little bit of greebling here, finish up the walls, and then we'll move on to the inner floor here, try to maybe lay out a bit of a carpet, as well as some trinkets here and there to fill the space a little bit better. And before long, we have the pretty much finished Slytherin common room, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It's remarkable how just putting a few minifigures actually transforms the space. I didn't really do anything extraordinary. In fact, I couldn't even find two matching armchairs, so we've got one black and one beige, but it's okay because I think it makes it feel more interesting that way. We did go ahead and just throw a bunch of random stuff that I found in this bucket of what I call the potentially useful parts that only go to Hogwarts, and just got a little scene going on here. But I'm not going to spend too much time just randomly staring at this one room. We're going to quickly do this bit, and I guess I'll show it to you, but it's not going to be that interesting. It's just going to be some rocks on the floor and some tiles, and then we're going to finally put the mock, or the Great Hall, sorry, back in the mock, and then we're going to work on the dungeons over here, which I think is much more interesting because I've been staring at those really empty rooms for about the past 2 months, which is a very long time, and I would like to see them start looking a bit more like this. So we've gone ahead and put the Great Hall back on top of the dungeon base over here, and here's just a quick view of what it's looking like underneath the Great Hall now that all these scenes are pretty much finished. This is this bit in the middle with the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets. It's probably the simplest of all three of the rooms, really, given that I'm just using these huge 6x6 tiles on the floor and just putting a little bit of rock work. But I think it does the trick. And then, of course, when it comes to staging it, I'll throw a bunch of bones down here and set up a little scene with Gilderoy Lockhart, Ron, and that. And then here we have the little view into the Slytherin common room. Now, I do have to fix this bit right here because it is blocking a substantial part of the view into the room, and also just doesn't look very good. But there's the Slytherin common room, and of course the Chamber of Secrets from a few episodes ago. So we're going to take this, and we're going to plop it back onto the mock over there, and we'll be able to get started with the dungeons. Alrighty, so the sunlight's not doing me any favors right now. It's gone away completely, and it's making everything seem really dull. Anyhow, back to Lego. This is what you can see of underneath the Great Hall. So of course we had all this filler brick holding up this entire region of the castle, which, fair enough, it was required to develop this. And here's more of like a top-down view. You can see what that's looking like over here. So this entire bit is held up by filler brick, but it also means that you basically can't see into the Chamber of Secrets and any of the other rooms that are back there, even though I did leave the openings for them to see it. So I think what I'll have to do in this case is, those rooms will stay as they are. If you want to see them, you can either lift off the Great Hall, or I can just move the entire section of the castle away, and then you can view it that way. And I think we're just going to have to prioritize these buildings, and unfortunately you just won't be able to see what's back there. But that's okay, because like I said, we can actually remove the Great Hall. It's as simple as just kind of pushing it away like that. But in any case, this is basically how it lines up with the rest of the castle. This is the corridor, just to give me a little bit of guidance over here. So this bit over here on the front is pretty much done. We might have to dress it up a little bit, but the real focus is going to be over here. I'm gonna probably, well, I was about to say I was gonna start here and do the Hufflepuff common room and work on this bit above here, but I'm actually going to first start over here, because I already have the basic layout of this potions classroom, and I'd like to finish up the areas that really don't need too much reconfiguration, and then we can get a little bit more experimental with the Hufflepuff common room. So to get down to the dungeons, of course, the first thing I had to do was to rip off the buildings on top. So there's that building with the entrance to the quad over there, and then I kind of had to pry off this chunk of plates and tiles. Thankfully, it was built primarily on a 16 by 16 plate, so it was relatively easy to get off as far as things go. But I definitely need to think about building these things for future work underneath. Now, just to recap, if you haven't watched any of the earlier videos, I assume it was somewhere around week 6, week 7 where I was working down here. Honestly, can't remember. It's been quite a long time ago. But as a little recap for those that haven't watched it, I have the stairwell down to the dungeons over here, and it's actually functioning, and there are 2 doorways down at the bottom, one that leads this way and one that leads that way. So the doorway that comes this way is currently blocked by kind of what I imagine would be a folding panel right here. And then the other one leads into this hallway. The sole purpose for that was simply because of how this rockwork curves around here. I wasn't able to shove the room and make it a little bit deeper, so I decided we'll just have a little bit of a hallway, and it adds a little bit of depth to the building. But in any case, this is the potions classroom that we are working with. I'm just going to take these arches off for the moment so we can get a better look inside. Now, it's not a terribly big space, but I think it's going to be perfect for the potions classroom here. We've just got some basic archways, and I already did start a little bit of work on getting the design. Now, I think the walls are not the thing that are really going to bring this to life. It's going to be all those really cool potion bottles and cauldrons and tables that really are going to transform this space. I'm not entirely sure I like how this cabinet just sticks in the wall there. But in any case, this is the room that we are working with. And so to get that space started, the first thing we are going to do is get going with the Lego set. Now, this is the most recent potions classroom, and I really, really love what they did with it, especially just little details like these curved tiles over here, which I'm hoping to incorporate into the walls somehow. And then we have all these really cool looking vials and cauldrons that will hopefully be able to fill up this space quite nicely. So we're gonna jump into that, gonna build this set, we're gonna see what we can do with it. So to a lot of you, this is probably going to sound incredibly dumb, but this is actually the first time that I think I've opened a new Lego set in quite a while, probably over a year or so, because I have never seen one of these paper bags. I've always just been used to sort of, well, I guess the iconic plastic bags that fill up the trash can in about 5 seconds when you start building a set. So, well, I'm glad they're moving towards this paper stuff. It's pretty cool. And it's funny to me that this is the first set I've opened that has one of these. So there you go. Right, so I'm going to interrupt the building just for a moment to show you a little bit of what's going on here. Apart from the awesome minifigures that come in this set, by the way, they are really nice. I'm actually quite surprised at how a small Lego set is able to have so much detail and just fun items in the set. So of course we've got these really cool new like flask pieces, and those might be several years old, and I'm just like way behind. We've got this huge vat, which I thought was pretty cool, and good thing that it is in fact just removable, so that's always going for it. And then we have these 2 identical desk setups, but they're removable, and I just thought it was quite cool. They've used regular silverware, pen, or not pen, quill and ink, some parchment and a cauldron. And this is the kind of thing I expect from a Lego set. Just being able to take this right out and go, right, I'm gonna steal that and plop it in my own mock. And then it doesn't hurt that we've got this pretty cool graphic on the wall as well, which I'm definitely stealing. So we got pretty lucky with this set. I have got Salazar Slytherin as the mystery tile piece, and that's perfect because I am actually going to try to steal that and put it into the Slytherin common room that we were building earlier, because it was distinctly lacking a little bit of Slytherin pride. So that, and I'm going to have to source a banner from somewhere. And we're definitely going to be throwing those into the Slytherin common room to make it feel a little bit more like their common room. And boom, bada bing, there is the potions classroom done. Quite like how it folds up. Now I know this is because it's supposed to actually slot into the, maybe it shows here. It's supposed to slot into this set if you do have it, which I don't because I have my own. Sorry. And then here is how it looks like once you unfold it. I'm just going to take a very quick tour on it because of course we will be able to see all this stuff later when I incorporate it in my own mock. But there's this really cool little stand of jars here with different ingredients and potion bottles underneath. We've got another flask, Godric Gryffindor. It's quite cool how I got 2 founders right there. We got some more stickers there, some weirdo thingies on the side. I quite like this little plinth. I'm not sure the exact term. The lectern, I guess, might be what it's called. Anyhow, basically where Snape stands behind it. But all in all, this is quite a fun and cool little set. So unfortunately, this is probably going to be about the only time that you'll actually see it as a finished set, or I will at least, because I'm about to take it apart completely and steal all the pieces, because we're about to go and transform that. Let's get into it, guys. So here's what the potions classroom looks like right now. At first glance, it doesn't look like I actually took that many pieces from it. Obviously, I took everything off the floor, but the wall is mostly in the same condition that it was when the set was built. The main thing I've stolen is 4 of the 6 curved tiles, and then of course I've taken all of the potion vials and cauldrons and desks and all of that. And we have gone ahead and actually finished our potions classroom, so we'll cut to that and I'll show you what it looks like. So when we peer through the 3 arches into the potions classroom, you can see a really fun looking space in here. And I'll just tilt you up from the top. So of course this is now done. Besides essentially modifying the walls ever so slightly to put these arches or these curved tiles on here, I didn't really touch any of the base structure at all. The only thing that really changed was, of course, I tiled off the floor and I put all the little things in the scene. The desks and the plinth, this little shelving unit, some cauldrons, all that. What I went ahead and did is in all of the archways, I made a little shelf unit and just put an assortment of different vials and such just to fill up the space and dress up the walls a little bit. And I try to use the 3 archways as a way of sort of organizing the space. We have the center aisle that leads out into the hallway. We have the sort of student desks over here, and we have this big vat cauldron, if you will, going on over there. Overall, very, very happy with how this turned out. It's a very simple build. It didn't take me too long to do, but I think we'll have to lend it to all the bright colors being used in this scene, but it looks really, really good. And then so taking a step back, you can now see what the potion classroom looks like. And our goal, of course, is to continue the same level of detail that I have done right here into these 2 bits over here. But we are going to reserve this for next week's video because we are running short of time already. I'll just do a quick recap of what I intend to do in a little bit more detail than I have said before. Now, what we have here is that doorway that's leading in from the main stairwell above. And then this is what I said I would dedicate towards the Hufflepuff common room. Now, 2 things that I'll mention is, firstly, you can see that this archway over here is higher up than these ones over here. And the reason is because initially I was going to put the Slytherin common room there, and it had one of those holographic panels in the back, and that was a certain height. So this actually had to be slightly taller to accommodate that. But now that I'm not going to put the Slytherin common room there, it makes me wonder if I need to do this, or if it would look better if it was all just one straight line across. I think I will actually lower the 2 bricks. It will mean that I will have to reconstruct all of this a bit, which might take a little bit of time, but I'd rather do it now so that everything looks a little bit more streamlined. Now, in terms of how we're going to do the Hufflepuff common room and the hallway, now the hallway is just going to be, unfortunately, a bit of a plain bit, but somewhat like we did these areas over here. We will try to dress it up with some candles, some torch brackets, some statues, stuff like that. But it's really just going to be the scene that I put in it that makes a difference. What we're going to have that really draws your attention is about right here. I'm going to try to put that wall of barrels, because that's how you enter the Hufflepuff common room, is through one of the barrels. And then I'm going to see if there's some interesting way in which we can have a feature where you can actually open the barrels in some way to get into the Hufflepuff common room. And then that will mean this is the space we have to work with for the Hufflepuff common room. Now, it's only 2 archways wide as opposed to the 3 for the potion classroom and the inevitable 3 of the hallway, but it is slightly deeper as well. And frankly, I could technically go a little bit further than that. So we have a slightly deeper space, but not as wide, but that's all right because the Hufflepuff common room is not really shown, well, it's not shown in any of the movies, and it's not a scene that is as important as perhaps something that you see quite a few times. The way I'm thinking of dividing it is, well, it's shown as a circular room, so I would love to figure out a way to curve the back wall if possible. But also we have the opportunity to either say, is this just going to be the central common room with what do you call it, with the sofas and all of that, the same way that we did the Slytherin common room, or are we going to introduce the dormitories in any way? So that's going to be a discussion for next week's video. But in any case, here's the mess that I've left for this week from all the building. And there we have the potion set. And of course we have the potions classroom and the work that we did underneath the Great Hall over there. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We got a lot of work done on the interiors, and we're going to keep doing that for next week. And then finally, this whole bottom section will be done. We'll do some bit of tweaking up here on the top, and then we're going to finally move over to here. And all of a sudden, Hogwarts is getting ever closer to being finished. I really hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and you'll stay tuned to week 18, where we'll be focusing on the Hufflepuff common room. See you guys.